Hi, welcome to week 4. You are halfway through as of this lecture. This week we're going to discuss how to read and understand a food label. Boring, right? It probably is one of the more boring lectures that you're going to find in this class, but you'll get through it, I promise, and you'll be smarter for it at the end. So we're going to take one product's nutrition label and we're going to look at the nutrition label for Lay's Classic Potato Chips. I chose this one because it has everything: sugar, salt, fat, carbs, and fiber. As I said, this is one of the most boring topics we will cover. I know. And there will be some math involved in this module. I'm so sorry. I am not a fan of math either. The nutrition facts label is what we're going to be looking at, and it's usually found on the back or side of packaging. The first thing that we're going to discuss on the package nutrition label is the serving size. Note that one serving of these Lay's potato chips is only about 15 chips. Also note that it does not say how many servings are in the bag. Most nutrition fact labels have approximate servings per container, and it enables you to calculate how many, according to how many servings are in there, what the numbers are in the nutrition facts label. Since this label doesn't say how many servings are in the bag, we'll just say that there's 10 servings in this whole bag. So in order to find out how many calories, grams of fat, or milligrams of sodium there are in the entire bag of potato chips, you would need to take each one of the numbers on this nutrition facts label and multiply it by 10. Here comes the math. Sorry. Let's look at calories first. You'll see on the label that there are 160 calories per serving, and we are saying that there's 10 servings in this entire bag. So you would take 160 and multiply it by 10, which would make this bag of potato chips would have 1,600 calories in the whole bag. Now, how many of you, when you sit down with a bag of potato chips, just eat 15 chips? Or 10 chips, or how, yeah, the servings in here is about 15 chips. How many of you sit down and eat only 15? Probably none of you. I don't. So you're probably going to eat the whole bag in one sitting. Let's look at fat next. There are 10 grams per serving in this bag, so you multiply 10 grams of fat times 10 servings in the bag, and you get 100 grams of fat in the entire bag. Sodium is big. It's 170 milligrams of sodium in one serving in 15 chips. With there being about 10 servings in this bag, you would multiply 170 by 10, and there are 1,700 milligrams of sodium in the whole bag. That is almost 2/3 or more milligrams of sodium in that bag of potato chips than you're supposed to have in an entire day. What exactly is a calorie? You look at how every food label has the calories per serving, and when you're dieting, you're counting them, but what are they? A calorie is a unit of measure that indicates the amount of energy we obtain from a particular food. So calories actually equal energy. The more calories something has, the more energy it will give you. But if you're eating dead food, the type of energy that it gives you is a very fast high, a very fast burst of energy, and then a very fast crash. So a calorie is basically the amount of heat it takes to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. But we're not going to concern ourselves with the second definition. Just know that when you see calorie, it means energy. We're not going to concern ourselves with the science of a calorie. Where it says that there's 160 calories per serving, if you will look right to the right of that, where it says calories from fat 90. Now what does that mean? Well, that means that of the 160 calories in each serving, 90 of those calories are there because of the amount of fat in each serving. So 90 of those calories comes from the fat, and the remaining 70 calories come from the other ingredients. The next thing that you'll notice is the percent daily value. In order to find out what that means to you and me, we have to know what they are considering is the daily value. Daily value means how much of each item we should have in a single day, or the maximum amount that we should not exceed in a single day. If you look about 2/3 of the way down the label here, you'll see the percent daily values are based on a 2,000 calorie diet. This statement means that they are basing their information on the average person consuming 2,000 total calories each day. Now, just below that statement about the 2,000 calories a day is a chart showing the maximum amount of fats, cholesterol, sodium, potassium, carbohydrates, and dietary fiber you should have in a 2,000 calorie a day diet or a 2,500 calorie a day diet. So you can see under the 2,000 calorie, it says that in one entire day a person could have 65 grams of fat, or 20 grams of saturated fat, 300 milligrams of cholesterol, 2,400 milligrams of sodium, 3,500 milligrams of potassium, 300 grams of carbohydrates, and 25 grams of dietary fiber, where in a 2,500 calorie a day diet, a person could have 80 grams of fat, or 25 grams of saturated fat, 300 milligrams of cholesterol, so you can see that stayed the same, 2,400 milligrams of sodium, that stayed the same as well. 3,500 milligrams of potassium, again that's the same. 375 grams of carbohydrates, so that was increased, or 30 grams of dietary fiber, so that also was increased. And each nutrient basically has calories in it. So fat, each gram of fat has 9 calories in it. Each carbohydrate gram has 4 calories, and each protein gram has 4 calories. To the left of the nutrition facts label, you will see the totals per serving of each nutrient. To the right of the nutrition facts label, you will see the percentage of the daily value that number on the left actually is. Let's look at total fat. Total fat is 10 grams. This label is saying that those 10 grams are 16% of what you should have total in a day. If we are looking at the 2,000 calorie per day diet, 10 grams of fat equals 16% of 65 grams, which is the total number of fat grams you should have a day in a 2,000 calorie a day diet. Saturated fat, the really bad fat, is included in the total fat numbers. It's broken down into different types of fats. There's trans and saturated in this case, to let you know how much of that total fat is what we call bad fat. Cholesterol is 0 milligrams. In most cases, however, the cholesterol would be present, and there would be a number to indicate what percentage of daily value is in one serving. So if we look at sodium, in this particular instance, sodium, there's 170 milligrams per serving. And according to the percent of daily value, this is only 7% of the daily value. So 170 milligrams per serving is 7% of the total number of sodium milligrams you should have in a day. So 170 milligrams is 7% of 2,400. The potassium is 350 milligrams, or 10% of the daily value. So 350 milligrams equals 10% of 3,500 milligrams. And again, we're basing it on the 2,000 calorie a day diet. Total carbs, 15 grams, or 5% of the daily value. And so 15 grams is 5% of 300 milligrams. Dietary fiber, 1 gram, it's only 5% of the daily value that you're supposed to have in a day. So 1 gram equals 5% of 25 grams of dietary fiber. Protein is 2 grams. They don't show you how much protein is required for the 2,000 calorie a day diet daily value. I will give it to you. 75 grams to 100 grams is the daily value of protein for a 2,000 calorie a day diet. We'll use the 75 grams. So 2 grams of protein, which is listed here, 2 grams of protein is actually 2.68% of 75 grams that you're supposed to have in a day. So how did I come up with 2.68% of protein? 2, which is the number of grams of protein in one serving of the potato chips, you would take the 2 grams and divide it by 75 grams, which is the number of grams of protein you should have in a day. And you get 0.02666666667, or 2.68, we round up. That's it for the math, I promise. Now, just below the second heavy black divider line is the section that lists the amount of vitamins and minerals in one serving. Note that only percentages are shown. In order to know how much is in one serving exactly, you would have to already know how much you should have in a day on the 2,000 calorie a day diet. How many people really know that? And how many people are going to stand in the grocery store and Google each vitamin and mineral listed and see how much they're supposed to have in a 2,000 calorie a day diet? No one. Zero, right? No one will ever bother to go that far, not even me. Now we're going to move on to the most important part of the label, the ingredients list. Are you sick and tired of looking at that Lay's potato chip nutrition label yet? I'm sure you are, but the reason that I chose this one is because it's a very common junk food and one that most everyone really likes, and the nutrition facts label and the ingredients label is pretty straightforward. The ingredients list is what I want you to pay the most attention to when you're buying stuff at the grocery store. This is the list of what is in the product. The ingredients are listed from most to least, so whatever is listed first is what this product contains the most of, and what is listed last is what it has the least of. Everything in between is listed in descending order. The ingredients in Classic Lay's are not too terrible as potato chips go. They are listed as potatoes, vegetable oil, which is sunflower, corn, and or canola oil, and salt. So there's basically 3 to 4 things in Lay's potato chips. And being listed in most to least, what it has the most of is potatoes, what it has the least of is salt, which is not really saying much as far as how much salt is in the potato chips. So all these ingredients are recognizable, right? You know what potatoes, oil, and salt are. What does this product contain the most of? I mentioned previously it's potatoes, because potatoes is listed first. What does this product have the least of? Salt. Salt is listed last. If you're going to eat potato chips, these are the least harmful. They are still harmful, but they are the least harmful because you recognize and know what all the ingredients are. So let's look at a product with a more extensive ingredients list, Kraft macaroni and cheese. What is the first item on the ingredients list for Kraft macaroni and cheese? It is enriched macaroni product, which has its own list of ingredients. Anything listed in parentheses after an ingredient is the list of that ingredients. Confusing enough for you? Enriched macaroni product has ingredients listed in the parentheses. The ingredients in the parentheses are the ingredients of the enriched macaroni. Enriched simply means that the manufacturer has added vitamins to it, man-made vitamins, not vitamins that are necessarily good for you. They are man-made. Is there anything in this list of ingredients that you don't recognize or can't pronounce? And what is the #1 rule when reading a food product label? If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Say it out loud. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Always remember that. Say it again. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. That is very, very important to remember. Another important thing to remember when it comes to healthy eating, if it's advertised on television, you shouldn't be eating it. So if it's advertised on television, don't eat it. Have you ever noticed that all the food advertised on television is processed food products? Think about it. How often do you see a commercial for an apple, an orange, or a banana? What you see is commercial for cereals or anything that's in a box or a bag that you can buy off a grocery store shelf. They have a commercial for. So avoid any food that has a television commercial. But if you're going to eat processed or fast foods, read the label first. The fewer the number of ingredients and the more ingredients you recognize as actual food, the better off you will be. That's it for today. I know it was boring. Heck, even I got a little bored with this one. Even though it was boring, it was very important information. Of all that we have covered and all that we will cover, this information in this lecture comes right underwater in its importance level.
Today's how it's made video is how it's made bacon. Think you might find this one a little gross.